The joke landed wrong the moment it left the general's mouth. Laughter rippled across the briefing room, hesitant, forced, uncertain, while she remained still. Eyes forward, hands folded behind her back. The words "kill count" hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. For a split second, the room forgot how to breathe. She didn't flinch. She didn't smile. And in that silence, something dangerous began to wake. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Captain Elena Ward had learned long ago that reactions were a currency. Spend them carelessly, and you'd be poor when it mattered. She'd earned that lesson in places where dust tasted like metal and decisions carried names, faces, consequences.
Nice.
She stood now in a climate-controlled room with polished floors and flags on the wall, surrounded by uniforms heavy with rank and reputation. And still, the weight felt familiar. The general leaned back, amused with himself, fingers drumming against the table. Around him, officers exchanged glances. Some smirked. Others studied the ceiling, suddenly fascinated by the acoustics. Elena felt the old Poltha urge to shrink, to deflect, to play along so the room could move on. She didn't. Her pulse slowed instead. A quiet steadiness settled in her chest. She thought she'd never be in a room like this again. She was wrong. Sunlight cut through the tall windows, catching dust motes that floated lazily, indifferent to the tension below. The hum of the air system filled the gaps between breaths. Elena's mind drifted, uninvited, to other rooms. Mud-walled compounds, shattered stairwells, places where jokes never survived first contact. Faces flickered, some saved, some lost. None of them laughed. "Relax," the general said, waving a hand. "Just curious. You've been busy, haven't you?" A murmur followed. Not approval, anticipation. Elena felt it, then the moral edge of the moment. She could answer the way they expected. Numbers, bravado, something sharp enough to earn claps and nods. Or she could tell the truth, knowing it would make people uncomfortable. Truth often did. One pace. Boots steady against the floor. The movement alone quieted the room. Her voice, when it came, was calm. Almost gentle. "I don't keep account, sir." A few brows furrowed. The general tilted his head, interest replacing humor. No, she said again. "Because if I start counting who I didn't save, I wouldn't be able to stand here." Silence was immediate, total. It spread outward like a held breath, swallowing every whisper, every shuffle of feet. Someone near the back swallowed hard. Another officer slowly set his pen down, the click echoing louder than it should have. Elena didn't look away. She let the words sit where they landed. The general straightened. The room felt different now, as if gravity had shifted a few degrees. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Around him, faces changed, not dramatically, but enough. Smirks softened, shoulders eased, eyes focused. Outside, a distant helicopter thudded past, unseen but unmistakable. Lena remembered the feel of rotor wash, the way it pressed against your chest. Reminded you that time was moving whether you were ready or not. She continued. Not louder, just clearer. "Every decision I've made was to end a threat so someone else could go home. That's the only number I care about." No applause came. None was needed. For a moment, the general studied her as if seeing her for the first time. Not as a novelty. Not as a punchline. As a professional who had walked farther into the dark than most, and come back carrying weight no metal could show. He nodded once. Slow, deliberate. "Thank you, Captain," he said. And in that sentence, the room heard an apology he would never say outright. The briefing moved on, but it didn't recover its old rhythm. Something had been recalibrated. Questions became sharper, more respectful. When Elena spoke again, people listened not because of her rank, but because of her restraint. Later, as chairs scraped back and conversations resumed in lower tones, a young lieutenant approached her. His hand shook just enough to notice. "My sister just enlisted," he said quietly. "Hope she meets leaders like you." Elena smiled then. Small. Real. "I hope she never has to answer questions like that, because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back." As she left the room, sunlight warming the corridor ahead, Elena felt the familiar mix of relief and resolve. She knew the world would keep testing her in smaller rooms and larger ones. But she also knew this: strength didn't need volume. Truth didn't need armor. Sometimes the most powerful answer was the one that reminded everyone what the question should have been. If this story stayed with you, share where you re-listening from, and subscribe to Whispered Words for more cinematic stories of quiet courage, hard truths, and the moments that change your room forever.